Tonight on Sports Night, we're going to review the fall season, every last detail. So get ready for some spiritual awareness as we wave to the crowds. We will give you the net results as we dive into all the action in the fall season. Sports Night is next.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sports Night. I'm Joe Young.
And I'm Howie Shapiro. And Joe, it's finally over. The fall season, with the most part. I know swimming still got some events, but
swimming still has a little bit going on. But we're going to talk about them anyhow.
Yep.
And just wrap everything up with a nice, neat little bow. And we're actually going to get right back into the winter season. A week from today, we're going to try and do a preview for the girls hockey team, which starts in just over a week. They get their season started, and hopefully trying to get arrange an interview with new head boys hockey coach Steve Moe.
Yeah, some changes obviously going into the winter season, but you know it's coming up quickly as you mentioned for the girls hockey a week from tomorrow, I believe Tuesday, which will be Tuesday the 11th of November.
Yeah, the girls hockey team gets the season going every year ahead of everyone else. Yep. Actually, they are into competition before a lot of teams even start tryouts. So we're going to get to them and get their season started right away. But before we do that, we're going to wrap things up here for the fall. We're going to start, as we have all season long, with football. I think it goes without saying that this was not the kind of season anyone was expecting or hoping for from the Cardinal football team. At the start of the year, there were big expectations for this team. They had a lot of varsity experience and seemed poised to make an impact in the Northwest Suburban. However, problems arose early, and they never seemed able to overcome them. Before the Cardinals ever took the field this fall, they suffered from injuries. One of their top playmakers hurt his wrist, and that dramatically changed what options were available in their offensive arsenal. But more significant struggles would be exposed in week one. While the Cardinals seemed able to move the ball, they couldn't finish. Turnovers and failed fourth down conversions kept the Cardinals scoreless in the season opener, and unfortunately those were problems that would plague this team all year long. That's why all the highlights you're seeing right now are from the game against Park Center. Through the first 4 weeks, the Cardinals coughed up the ball 12 times while only forcing 2 turnovers on defense. They had 11 trips to the red zone, but those had only resulted in 1 touchdown and 1 field goal. They were outscored 117-15 in the first half of the season. Cardinals' only win of the year would come in the homecoming game against Park Center. Cardinals forced 5 turnovers on their way to the 35-20 win over the Pirates. It seemed the win might help them build some momentum for the second half, but that wasn't the case. Cardinals were held scoreless through their last 3 regular season games and also shut out in their 1 playoff game. Despite their disappointing record, there are a few positives to take away from the season. The defense actually played pretty well, especially in the second half of the season. Unfortunately, they were on the field far too often, and too often they were out there with a short field at their backs. Another bright spot was the performance of their 2 junior running backs. Both Cortez Action Jackson and Cody Kovalenko showed promise for the future of this program. There were a number of other young players who will also return to try to get the team turned back in the right direction. It was clearly be a difficult offseason, but there is plenty of promise that next year will be better than this fall.
A lot of seniors leaving the program.
As it always is with the football team, the bigger concern is a number of playmakers, a number of guys who played on both sides of the football and were starters on both sides of the football that are moving on. On to Lepper, Hip, Johnson, Moore, Ruff, Wynn, Little, Crawford, Wilson, Amore, Gervais, Nagby, Baker, Ammon, Balthazar, Bothwell, Roloff, Fonken, Cruckton, Walter, Teagarden, Winston, Kezar, Weber, Bushiger, Lopez, Onstead, Paul, Zlazalak, Sapapasert, Sorensen, Quinones, and Ness. I'll miss Sapapasert.
Yeah,
I'll miss
absolutely.
that name.
They're going to roll out the oxygen for you. You can take a breath after all those names. But you hit it in that review. There were some positives, obviously, in this team. The defense being the one, and the fact that Blake Weber, Defensive Lineman of the Year in the Northwest Suburban, a nice award coming off that defense.
Especially when you consider he's coming off a team that was 1-8.
Absolutely, and you saw the defense growing as the year continued. On the other side, unfortunately, the offense couldn't get it going. They've had their opportunities. Turnovers hurt them, especially early in this season.
Yes, they did, and they continue to have problems with those turnovers throughout the remainder of the schedule. Maybe forcing things a little too much, maybe getting a little bit desperate, I don't know. But to be held scoreless for the last month of the season certainly did not help their confidence as they tried to get something positive going.
Well, I know there's promise because I know the JV team had a good year, and some of the other younger teams had good seasons. So there's some good athletes coming up through the program, and hopefully next year they'll get some of those situations corrected that they didn't play the way they wanted to this year, and they'll move forward.
Well, ball security and finishing in the red zone will be two keys, I'm sure, next season.
Well, the girls' tennis team was clearly the most successful program for Coon Rapids Athletics this fall, with the doubles team making it all the way to the state tournament. The Cardinals came into the season as defending co-champions in the Northwest Suburban. While they weren't able to hold on to that title this year, they chalked up 20 wins for the second season in a row and made a great run in the section tournament. Despite losing some talented players to graduation, the Cardinals knew when they came back to the courts, they had the makeup of a contender. The 2013 squad had exceeded all expectations, and this year's team, there were no reason why they couldn't do the same. They had a number of talented players, and many of them were versatile enough that they were willing to play wherever needed to give their team the best chance to be successful. The season started with the Cardinals trading wins and losses, but once they got going in the middle of the season, they were very impressive. The Cardinals won 8 in a row and 13 of their last 14 matches to close the regular season. Their 18-5 record, 10-3 in the conference, was good enough to earn them the second seed in the section tournament. The Cardinals blew past St. Michael, Albertville, and Blaine before losing to top-seeded Moundsview in the section championship. Most of the team's entrants in the individual section tournament didn't fare so well, but the doubles team of Heidi Hanula and Andrea Ream wouldn't be stopped until they reached the state tournament. Hanula and Ream were the second-seeded team in the tournament and won 4 straight matches to claim the section championship. They were unable to score a win at state, but it was a pretty impressive accomplishment just to reach the tournament. It was the second straight year for Hanula. Unfortunately, Ream and Hanula are 2 of the 7 seniors who will move on. However, there are a number of underclassmen that started every varsity match this year, and they'll be ready to lead the team when play resumes next fall. You know, go ahead and talk about the seniors.
There are your seniors: Andrea Ream, Bailey Ryan, Christina McManus, Hannah Nagley, Heidi Hanula, Julie Mortensen, and Sarah McDonald. 7 girls, 5 or 6 of them playing very regularly in the varsity rotation.
Yeah, and we had a chance to do a number of their few matches, and they were really a solid squad all year long, and it was good to see because, you know, this program, after the good success from last year, able to come, not win the title, but able to come back and get 20 wins. It's pretty impressive.
Well, and a big part of that is the health of the tennis program throughout all levels here at Coon Rapids, and a lot of that has to do with head coach Scott Storick.
Absolutely.
He's, of course, the head coach for both boys and girls varsity programs, but he also runs a number of clinics and is very involved with the youth programs all the way to the little kids just learning to play tennis. And we've talked about that throughout the years, how important it is for the high school level coaches and how much more success they seem to have when those high school level coaches get involved with the program from a very early age. Even if it's just as little as encouraging kids to continue with that sport or activity, or it being as involved and hands-on as to coaching them at a young age. They get to know the kids get to know the coach, they get to see kind of what's expected of them and how they build towards becoming a successful program.
Without a doubt. Now the real work continues as they get their off-season work in, because obviously living here in Minnesota, you have to go inside for that. So they'll continue to grow and they'll continue to work on their game as the winter progresses into the spring and be ready for next fall.
Well, the volleyball team will have some serious rebuilding to do this offseason, and they don't have a lot of foundation pieces in place. The upside for the program is that there were a lot of young players that got a lot of varsity experience this year. The downside, which is significant, is that most of the Cardinals' offense came from one player, and she will be graduating. At the beginning of the season, Coach Scott Arcand was optimistic about the potential for this year's squad. Even though they did not find a lot of success as far as wins and losses this year, he still felt the players were showing improvement and continuing to build the program for the future. This is the 3rd year for Arcand, who came in with a 5-year plan to get this program turned around, and he feels that plan is still on track. Cardinals only managed 3 victories in their 25-game schedule, with 2 of them coming in tournaments where it is a best-of-3 sets instead of best-of-5. Their only conference victory came in a 5-set thriller over Irondale. Offense was clearly a concern for this program, with Jessica Haig carrying most of the load on the attack. She accounted for 221 of the Cardinals' 389 kills on the year. That's about 57%. Add in the offense from her fellow seniors, and the team loses about 62% of their offense. Not to mention 3 of their top 4 leaders in digs, meaning the seniors also made up about 58% of the team's defense. The team will be hard-pressed to replace all they are losing. However, they will return a lot of girls who proved they were ready to step up to the varsity level, including their leader in assists as well as their leader in aces, who also was second on the team in kills. It will not be an easy road, but the Cardinals will try to take the next step in 2015 and keep working on Coach Arcan's 5-year plan. There are your seniors: Emily Boyum, Jessica Haig, Carly Britton, Maria Hennon, and Megan Wellner.
Yeah, was it a tough year? Absolutely for them. And, you know, and Coach Arcan, as we talked all year as the year progressed, said, you know, you may not see it in the play, you may not see it, or not in the play, but in the scores, but this team is starting to put some things together. Hopefully they will continue to work on that as they head into next year.
Well, and we talk about it. I mean, we're like a broken record when it comes to it, but incredibly tough competition.
Oh, absolutely.
In the Northwest Suburban Conference, and volleyball may be even stronger than a lot of sports.
Right.
I mean, there are some very top-level programs. When you talk about Osseo and Blaine and Maple Grove, Champlain Park, all
really
very,
good
very good
Yep.
teams that the Cardinals have to go out and face night after night.
Well, and those are the things that they'll hopefully work on. And I know, you know, off season again for them, there are a lot of camps, a lot of leagues that they play in. Will continue to develop their game, and you know, Coach Arcan has an aggressive plan to try and build this squad.
Yeah.
Well, the season isn't quite over for the swimming and diving team with the section championships coming up this week, but we're going to review their season nonetheless. The Cardinals knew coming into the season that they had some top-tier swimmers leading the way, but the team's success would be difficult because of their lack of depth. Heading into this week's tournament, it would be more about those leaders and that they can be able to take that next step. As with every sport at Coon Rapids, the swimming and diving team competes in an incredibly tough conference and section where we heard that before.
Broken record.
From the very start of the practice this fall, the Cardinals knew that their lack of depth would be a major concern when they went head-to-head with the elite teams in the area. For the most part, the season was as expected. The Cardinals had some strong leaders who would place well in their events, but they didn't have enough help scoring team points to make them a relevant contender. The Cardinals' only win in a dual meet came in a blowout win over Park Center, another team whose struggles with depth are even more evident. The best part of the season is that most of those top swimmers for the Cardinals will be returning. There are only 5 seniors on the roster. While a couple of them are major contributors and will have a chance at earning a spot at state, the younger swimmers are what make it easy to be optimistic about the program's future. Several underclassmen will be among those at section this week. They have a good chance to advance to the state tournament. We wish them the best at this week's meet, and we'll continue to follow them here on Sportsnight.
There they are, just 5 seniors: yep. Ariana Georgie, Haley Clausen, Heidi Weller, Rosalind Lund, and Sarah Dishinger. You know, a couple of them definitely have been key parts in some events, have been those leaders to get those top points, but a number of others that have really led the way for this team, and they will be back. I think there's a couple of those seniors who have a good chance to make state at sections this week. I think there's a number of underclassmen who also have a chance to advance, and I'm just really excited that we get to continue saying the name Galadriel O'Grady.
Yes, absolutely.
It's just a great.
It is a great name. It is a great name, no doubt.
It just rolls right off the tongue. So sections start on Thursday. And we hope to have maybe some highlights, but definitely some results for you next week on Sportsnight. Again, we're going to keep rolling right into the winter season. We may take a break after next week, after we get the girls hockey preview in and those section results. But it all kind of depends on you know, because again, all the other winter sports are a couple weeks behind. So.
Yeah, because boys basketball, I don't think the 21st is their first game, so there is going to be a little break in time there.
Well, I don't know that they even start practices or tryouts until the week after next.
Correct.
A lot of programs. So anyhow, we will have those swimming section results for you next week on Sportsnight. Qualifying success can be difficult, as we've seen, especially when the team's finishes have been less than stellar. This is even more evident when we look at the individual sports like swimming or cross country. While neither Coon Rapids team finished as well as they would have liked, almost every athlete running in the red and white showed great improvement from the beginning of the season to the end. Probably the most impressive part of the season for the Coon Rapids cross country teams is the youth was leading the way. This was a little more evident on the boys' side, where it was a freshman out front of the pack in almost every race. Most of their meets, the Cardinals were finishing middle of the pack, holding their own against some top-level competition. Probably their best finish of the year came in the Blaine Invitational. Cardinals were put in the weaker of the two divisions, but it was a good test for this team to see how they would perform with their guys working at the front of the pack. And they did great. Cardinals finished third in that event. They would go on to a 9th place finish in the conference championship and an even better 8th place finish at sections, with 5 of their 7 guys running personal bests and another running a season best. They did not advance anyone into the state tournament. The Cardinals section team included just 1 senior and 1 junior. They will return 6 of their top 7 next season, should be well poised to be a contender both the Northwest Suburban and Section 5 AA. Girls had a little more success as far as team finishes, but at the same time, they were burdened with a little higher expectations. Cardinals have been a consistent contender for years. They were hoping this was the season they would get over the hump after 5 straight seasons, finishing third at sections and missing a trip to state by just 1 spot. Well, it didn't work out that way, as it seemed most of the other teams around picked up the pace a little. Cardinals' best finish of the year as far as placing goes was at a 3rd place finish at Hudson. But in a lot of their races, the Cardinals were hanging tough with some of the elite programs in the state. This was very evident at the GRIAC Invitational, where the Cardinals finished 7th in the most prestigious cross-country event in the upper Midwest. Like the boys, the girls' success relied heavily on the leadership of young and upcoming stars. While 3 of the Cardinals runners in sections were seniors, their top 4 were all underclassmen. Junior Elise Weimholt, along with sophomores Brenda Del Castillo, Rachel Davis, and Michelle Onikaba, will all be back to help try to build this program again next fall as they take another run at getting the Cardinals to a state tournament. There are your boys seniors: Ali Abdul Kadar, Jack Jorgensen, Kyle Mehrhoff, Tate Andrews, and Usami Rashid. Girls list a little bit longer, but their team is a little bit bigger. Caitlin Benson, Becca Beyer, Hannah Davis, Tyra Davis Jenkins, Annie Hendrick, Lindsey Johnson, Susan Porter, Kelly Roberts, Haley Severson, Allie Stahlberger, Jessica Swanson, Sydney Thompson, Melissa Trong, and Alexa Zabaski.
You know, Joe, I think the interesting thing for both these teams is that they've got so much leadership coming back, and I think it's kind of been that way in cross country, is that they really get developed at a young age and able to get on varsity time when you're underclassmen, and that bodes well for the program. You know, the results were, as you mentioned, not quite as good as they wanted. The girls had a little better season because they had a little better expectations and they performed a little bit better. Boys played well, ran well as well. So I think coming into next year, they have an opportunity to better those numbers and even do better than they did this season.
Well, and I think the expectations at the start of next fall will be a little bit higher for the boys than the girls because of how many young runners they have. Really, 6 of their top 7 guys were underclassmen, and only 1 of them is a junior. So most of them will be here for 2 more years. But on the flip side, you've got girls. You've got a couple of girls who were at state last year, did not make it this year, but will be back again. And, you know, the top 4 finishers in sections were all underclassmen. 3 of the 4 are sophomores, so they should be exciting to watch as well.
Now, good motivation for the girls who didn't make it last season, who made it the year before, to come back and get back to the state tournament.
Absolutely.
It was a difficult season for the boys' soccer program, to say the least, but the only thing that can be done is to move forward. The Cardinals played pretty well on defense this year, but they didn't have enough offense to keep them in the running in the Northwest Suburban. The hardest part is that they will lose a lot of what little scoring they had. From the very start of the season, the Cardinal troubles with offense was evident. They lost their first 8 games despite holding their opponents to just to 2 goals in 6 of those 8 games. The Cardinals were shut out 3 times during that stretch and held just to 1 goal in the other 5. By season's end, the Cardinals managed just 2 wins, and those were the only 2 games in which they were able to score more than twice. The Cards were shut out 7 times this year, and they scored just 8 goals in their 14 losses this season. The season ended with a 2-1 loss to top-seeded Andover in the first round of the section tournament. The Cardinals will lose 8 players to graduation, including 2-year starting goalkeeper Alex McCormick and some of their leaders from all parts of the field. Senior captain Tony Cruckton was the Cardinals' leading scorer, but there are a couple of younger players who proved this season they'll be able to carry the program forward next year. This will be a lot of work to do in the offseason, most importantly, finding more firepower up front to give this program more offense, but also maintaining their strength on defense and replacing their keeper. There's every reason to believe the Cardinals will be able to accomplish those goals and be a more dangerous squad in 2015.
There are your seniors, McCormick. I'll let you say the next one.
And Tomwin.
Nice
Prince
job.
And Tomwin,
way to
baby.
go.
Yeah.
Way to go. We still got Gail. Gail's still going to
know.
be back. So remember that. And next season, we'll go through the whole thing again with Howie not being able to pronounce Tomwin. Ryan Haida, Beersford Jimmy. That's another great name I'll be missing. Caleb Teagarden, of course, his younger brother Jeshua. We'll keep that name in there. Austin Bork. Tony Cruckton. I'm not sure if he's the final Cruckton. We've seen that name.
We have for
around
quite a
the
long
program
time.
for a long time, and then Ryan Nelson, and it just amazes me how many siblings we have seen go through the programs here in Coon Rapids. A number of those athletes have had older siblings and may still have younger siblings. But yeah, I mean, the big problem was scoring. I mean, defensively, this was a pretty impressive team. I mean, they were holding really good teams down to 2 goals. Anoka finished as the state champion. Cardinals lost to him 2-0.
Well, you know, and Andover, the #1 team in the section, they lost to twice, but both by 2-1 scores.
And we did both of
Yes,
those
we
games, and really in the regular season contest, they felt like they outplayed them, and I think it was pretty even, but I thought the Cardinals had just as many scoring opportunities. I thought it was a little more in the Huskies' favor in the section tournament, but yeah, it's just so many of those games, 1 bounce, 2 bounces go their way, and this could be just the momentum they needed to get that season going. Had a couple of things bounce their way early in the year, and kept them from losing 8 in a row to start. Who knows what differences that might have made? But like we said with the football team, you know, a lot of shoulda, coulda, wouldas,
yeah,
ifs
absolutely.
and buts. All you can do is move forward.
All you can do is move forward. But you're right, though. Had they been able to find a little firepower on the offensive end, the way their defense played, they would have won a fair amount of more games if they've been able to do that. But as you mentioned, you can't look back at that. You just need to look forward.
Well, and now they need to be able to find some scoring, but they have to be able to keep their integrity on defense.
Right.
Because
Absolutely.
that is,
Absolutely.
you know, as we talk about a lot in team games, you know, you build from the defense forward. They definitely had the defensive part in place, just unable to quite finish it off on the offensive end. Certainly weren't lacking for speed. They got a number of
absolutely
of fast guys up there. Oh, it's Sheeranbeers, another great name
and
I look forward to.
And to
being
say,
able
yeah,
to
absolutely.
say again
And you got to replace your keeper, and that's a big part of it.
Absolutely. Well, the girls' soccer season was a bit of a roller coaster ride for the Cardinals, with nearly equal periods of highs and lows. This is a program that is traditionally a power in the conference and the section, so there are a little higher expectations at the start of each season. Because of that, there may be some that see this as a year as a disappointment, despite a record many Coon Rapids programs would envy. As the Cardinals prepared for the season, it seemed they had the right personnel to once again be a contender in the Northwest Suburban. They had lost 12 seniors from a team that had posted a 10-5-1 record the season before, but still, everyone in the program was confident in their abilities. Unfortunately, the season got off to an unusually slow start. Cardinals failed to score in their first 3 games. Meanwhile, they gave up 13 in those 3 losses. Uncharacteristic play at both ends of the field for the Cardinals. After a tie against Armstrong, the Cardinals got their first win of the season in their 5th game of the year. Unfortunately, that was followed by 2 one-goal losses and another tie before the Cardinals finally got on the positive roll they had been needing. They won 4 in a row and 5 of their next 6 to finish September with a .500 record. Cardinals lost their last 2 and finished the regular season 6-8-2. Their season ended with a well-played loss to Anoka in the section quarterfinal. Despite outplaying the Tornadoes and generating more scoring chances, Cardinals lost 2-1, and Anoka would go on to win the section championship. Cardinals will lose 6 seniors to graduation, including Captain Allie Erickson, who was one of the team's leading scorers, but they will return a solid core next fall. Only time will tell if they can return this program to its position of power in the conference, but they should be pretty well set next season to at least take another step forward. Number 9.
Number 9.
Number 9.
Number 9.
Not graduating.
we can carry that on to next season.
That's right. Maddie Hutchings, Samantha Anderson, Allie Erickson, Jessica Lawrence, Michaela Ciccone, and Megan Lund are the graduating seniors for the Cardinal program. And Allie Erickson, I can say, I guarantee, the last of the Erickson girls, yes. 3 or 4 of them. I'm pretty sure she's number 3, but it could be number 4. We've seen a lot of Ericksons move through the program.
I think it is 3, though. I think it is. I'm pretty
so.
sure. Yeah, but you know what? And losing her is going to be a big blow for the Cardinals because,
absolutely,
as you know, she didn't start the season with them because she was serving in the military and getting her basic training in. But when she came back, that offense stepped up a little bit,
absolutely.
and so that's you know, Coach DeJoy. We're close with him, obviously, and that's something he'll look to replace and continue to have that stellar defense that he tries to have every year.
I think they got some good contributions up front from a number of other players. Yep. Their keeper all year, Anna Frazier, just a sophomore,
yep.
So a little bit of growing pains between the posts for him. That will be a piece that they can build on next year, and hopefully she continues to progress her play. And yeah, they're going to need to score a little bit more. Their scoring not quite as anemic as the boys, no. But the biggest surprise really at the beginning of the season was not so much that they didn't score in those first 3 games, to me anyhow, is that they gave up 13 in those first 3 games. That's very uncharacteristic of the Cardinals.
Well, yeah, because their defense usually year after year is fairly stellar, and I know that Coach DeJoy was scratching his head during that period because he's got to figure out a way to tighten up that defense.
Well, they will be back, and they will try and give it a better go next year. We will be back next week, and we will be talking some hockey.
We will.
Going to preview the girls hockey team, hopefully have a conversation with new boys hockey coach Steve Moe. And then it's right into the game schedule. Girls hockey starts against the Maple Grove Crimson on Tuesday the 11th. We'll also do their game against Spring Lake Park on the 18th. Our first look at the boys basketball team will be on the 21st as they host Hastings. But that's going to do it for this edition of Sports Night. I want to thank you for joining us to continue to support everything we do here at CTN. For the entire crew, including Alex Shapiro, I'm Joe Young. Say good night.